that is what maybe can make this auditor resign. So we have got so many rights, and there are other further rights and duties of an auditor when on resignation. I think this one we are going to look into it when I give you the presentation or when I have given you the book itself. So notice the auditor can receive all notices that relate to the general meeting where the term of office would have expired, and the general meeting where casual vacancy caused by their resignation is to be filled. Auditors can speak at these meetings on any matter which concerns them as auditors. When the directors fail to send out copies of the statement of circumstances, the auditor can require that the statement be read at the meeting. What are they saying? When you have given me the notice that I'm resigning, so they are saying, if it coincides with the meeting or annual general meeting or any meeting, that letter should be read to the meeting that the auditor is what is I am leaving, because the auditor can speak at that meeting to say, I'm leaving, I'm resigning, and I'm giving you a notice. So when is an auditor dismissed or removed? The company law states with you that auditors must be capable of being changed or removed if the shareholders wish it. But is designated one to give the auditor who the directors would like to remove. Again, ensure maximum publicity is given to any proposed change of auditors so that the members are aware to the matters and can make informed choices. So what are we saying? Auditors can be removed out of their seats by directors, by shareholders, as we have already said, even in the appointment. So these are some of the things that us as the auditors we have to know, or some of the things as us audit and assurance officers should know that we should have before we concentrate in our lectures. Any questions? Any questions? No questions, nothing?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what we can talk about. So there are things that you as auditors you should not get involved to. Money laundering. Money laundering is a process by which criminals try to make the proceedings of their crimes appear clean. Can you give one example of money laundering?
Black market.
Black money is like
Black market, like what?
Like the illegal exchange of foreign currency by unauthorized people.
Okay, so that is not supposed to be done by the auditor. Us as auditors, we should not involve ourselves in such cases. As a result, people can inform us by the way of whistleblowing. Do we know whistleblowing? We should. Whistleblowing? Whistleblowing, is it? You know it? So, that is the one thing that we can think about. When we talk about whistleblowing, means informing the proper authorities of some breach of law or regulation. The risk here is that the informer will suffer punishment. So those are some of the things that we as auditors should take note that we should not be doing such things as auditors. How about inside dealing? Inside dealing. Do you know it?
I think it's more like doing, conducting some, conducting unwanted transaction with the organization.
Inside dealing is illegal, and that it is also contrary to the ethical rule. People who do that is many auditors are not supposed to be done that. It's prohibited in our case. So I think with the introduction of our subject, I think we can now say we have learned something that is we should be at least be introduced to our subject as the audit and assurance assignment. Tunasema assignment inaanza huko meeting maneno ambayo assignment uje na master approach ustati hapa sina nini just kwa assignment number 1, discuss these terms in audit and assurance services, audit engagement. 2, audit planning. 3, working papers. Please give me 3 pages excluding cover page and references. So it means it's obvious at least a page more for each is fine. The second question, discuss audit evidence and the 4 methods of obtaining audit evidence. Discuss audit evidence and the 4 methods of obtaining audit evidence. So these are the assignments that they are supposed to have. So we continue our so I've asked you about audit evidence. So I should teach you this currency. So, according to the course outline, we have talked about the audit and legal responsibilities that we have talked in the introduction. But instead, I've asked you two things: audit plan, working paper, and audit evidence. So, okay. I'm expecting later. Yeah. Okay, so we just have to continue with one topic at a time. So we start with audit engagement. Audit engagement.
Maybe I can get same.
Okay.
Your view and so the same. So,
Oh, no, what's that? But it's fine. Because you know, I will just explain in a nutshell what you're going to write so that I should understand. In fact, so we start with audit engagement. Types of assurance engagement. Types of assurance engagement. If we talk of types of insurance, this mainly talks about the reasons for performing the assurance or the audit, mainly signifying the influence of what the auditor is engaged to perform. Therefore, it is important to understand the reasons for conducting the engagement before beginning the plan. So what are we saying? When we are engaged in assurance, we should always think about safety planning. We don't just do it. You are supposed to do the planning before you do everything. So we have reasons for performing assurance engagement. You can have a number of reasons of performing assurance engagement, which can include, but not limited to, of course, there are so many, when the engagement was identified in the internal audit plan because of risk identified during the business assessment process. Part of the plan where last time the area was audited and the other relevant factors. What are we saying? You can sometimes have an audit assurance engagement by looking into a certain topic that is, let's say, the internal auditor had highlighted to say, then you can start from there. That can be one of the reasons for you to do the assurance audit. So as we say, types of assurance audit, you can have the compliance audit. Okay? Compliance audit. In compliance requirements, the internal auditor must understand what underlying business risk examination. Why are we talking of internal auditors? Because we're talking about, let's say, the audit has already been done and you are doing the assurance. That's what we are talking about. Significant changes cause the engagement to be included in the plan, and the design, engagement, plan to provide appropriate assurance regarding the design adequacy and operating effectiveness of control implemented to mitigate those risks. We are talking that in the compliance audit, we have already said that, for example, the auditor has found a problem, and that problem they think somebody has to come and review and give the assurance to the organization. Then you, as an assurance auditor, you are supposed first to plan, and not only that, you do the design of how you are going to do the problem that has already been identified by the internal auditor, so that you should really know how you are going to do the assurance yourself. So engagement is part of an annual requirement to evaluate the organization system of internal controls. What are we saying? We're talking about you being an assurance audit and assurance officer. It means you can also go into the assurance of the internal controls. What are the internal controls?
Measures are approved within organization.
Internal controls, whatever, Yvonne. The internal control for let's say your mother and dad inside you, they will say, Yvonne, by 6 o'clock we should be home. You are not supposed to go beyond 6 o'clock. That's an internal control. A regulation. Okay? A regulation in your family. There are so many internal controls in your family. But this we are talking in a form of organization. So there are different types of internal controls in different organizations. So this is what we are saying, that first, as you being an assurance auditor, the internal auditors are going to find out found what is the problem that you should make an assurance on it. Then you also have to evaluate the internal controls for that organization. Because the assurance comes from the start of the rules. These people that are going to be auditing, whether internal auditors or auditors, if they come up with something wrong, it means you have to start with the what? Internal control. What made them do this? For example, if the internal auditors have found out that, let's say, somebody was in account and has eaten money, okay? So they want you to assure that, yes, according to what they did, the internal auditors, they have found here an exact thing. What do you do first? You go to the internal control. What is the internal control? The internal control, they're going to say everybody who is going to be receiving money for the organization has to deposit within a certain period of time. So let's say this maybe weakness is there, that if there are no rules of such, they will not specify. So those are some of the weaknesses that you start from as an assurance body. So they're saying that this is a requirement in the financial reporting and according to the acts or standards. For this engagement, the internal auditor must ensure that the engagement is designed to ensure that the engagement is designed to test the areas covered by the underlying regulation. So that's what we're talking about, and then you are supposed to look into that. So the process of you doing the audit and assurance engagement, it desires a postmortem or examination to determine where the process was effective and where it was not. For such engagement, the internal auditor must tailor the testing and evaluation around the specific event that occurred. So the internal auditor has to stipulate all those. Then we are going to be looking into what these internal auditors have done, or other auditors. Here we are giving an example of the internal auditor, but it can't be an internal auditor only. It can be other auditors, external auditors, that we are going to be looking into their work to have a confirmation or an assurance on that audit. So other factors in connection of audit assurance, when we are looking into something that has emerged and then we want to give in an assurance on the engagement, then we are supposed to have also these other additional that we can think about that are important for us to work on. So you as an assurance auditor has also that chance of looking into the team that had done the audit and see the drivers that caused the engagement to be performed. So those are some of the things that you as an assurance audit and assurance officer has to look into. For example, instead of looking for assurance regarding the different sessions, discuss the above with management, which may desire an engagement to be conducted to assess how a process is to be performed. So you can also discuss with the management according to what you have found out that this should be assured. Then you can first discuss with the management in order for you to do the whole process of assuring or auditing. Also, understand such reasons which can assist you to ensure that the overall objective, scope, and the focus of engagement can address. Also, the drivers and the time is not devoted to others. So, what are we talking? We're talking about understand why you are doing the assurance audit or audit and assurance on that particular thing. You have to understand the objective, the scope, and also focus on the address of why you are doing the engagement. So also look into the time that you are going to be doing that. You also have to understand what the auditors have done, the process that they have done as the internal auditor or the internal audit process. That is how internal audit assurance and the consulting engagement are planned and performed and how engagement outcomes are communicated. So you have to have that when you are talking of engagement. It means you are supposed to look into all those for you to go ahead with your audit and assurance process. Sometimes we can also think about the two things that the internal auditors can look into. They can also sometimes do the assurance service. Again, they can also have the consulting service. These two types of services are defined in the international standards or professional practices of audit and assurance, and not only that, in the International Professional Practice Framework, the IPPF. Assurance service and objective examination of evidence for the purpose of providing an independent assessment on its governance, risk management, and control purposes for organization. For example, assurance may include financial performance, compliance system, security, and due diligence engagement. So what are we talking about? You as an assurance, you should also think about the things that you are supposed to look into. One, independent assessment. What do you guys, what are you thinking, big guys? Not that. Independent. Number 3. 1, 2. Governance. 3. Risk management. Yes. Remove the page. Independent assessment. Then governance. Again, the risk management and control. Where you look into the financial performance, the compliance, system security, and the due diligence. Sometimes, as I've already said, that we can have two, that's the assurance as well as the consulting. So when we're talking of consulting services, we are talking about advisory and related, let's say, customer service activities to the nature and scope of which are agreed with the customer. Value addition to improve the organization, governance, also risk management is also in consulting. So what do we do when we are talking about consulting services? We can counsel the people in the organization. We can advise them. We can train them also as the assurance of audit and assurance officer. So when we are talking about audit assurance and consulting services, maybe we can think about designing to focus directly on the operations, the reporting, again, the compliance performance of the organization, the internal controls design, also the implementation of the reasonable assurance. So there are so many that we can think about when we are talking about the assurance and auditing. So sometimes this, we can think about some engagements which can be performed as assurance engagements, again as consulting engagements, or they can be blended, both of them together, assurance and consulting. So you can sometimes think about doing the audit and assurance, but you can also sometimes do the counseling or do the advice in connection of how you are going to do the process itself. Why should we think about audit engagement? Why should we think about audit engagement? Or why should we learn about audit engagement? Or audit and assurance engagement? In fact, why we should or learn about the audit and assurance engagement, this is for us to know the importance of the 6 P's. 6 P's. These are proper, prior, planning, prevention or prevent, poor and perform. So we're saying that we should, of course, learn about audit and assurance engagement because we want to know about the 6 P's, which is proper, prior, planning, prevent, poor, and performance. So the expression means that it is critical to effectively plan engagement to ensure success. Time spent in the planning phase of engagement likely will play great role by helping to ensure that the overall audit and assurance has been conducted effectively, efficiently, and comprehensively. So it is very important for us to think about that. So assurance engagement alone, we should think about the planning phase. The first phase of an assurance engagement is the planning phase. The key steps in planning on an engagement are 1, determining engagement objective and scope. So we should also think about the scope of why we are doing the assurance engagement or audit engagement. Each assurance engagement will be a little different depending on the reason for performing the engagement and the desired end result. The first step is to establish the objectives of the engagement and outline the scope articulated and also time, geographical and procedural boundaries. What are we saying? We're saying that first thing, we're supposed to think about the objectives as well as the scope in our audit assurance. So when we're planning, we have to understand the auditing objective or assurance objective, the conduct of engagement effectively. The auditor must be the audit and assurance officer must first understand the auditing objective, the tasks undertaken, the area under review to achieve those objectives, and the way in which performance is monitored and success is measured. So we are talking about the planning of the assurance you are supposed to identify and assess the risks of why you are doing the assurance. So the specific events or scenarios that could prevent the achievement, the audit and assurance objective somebody is going to perform must be identified and assessed. This assessment typically involves an evaluation of the impact and the likelihood of the risk scenario. So always when we're thinking about engagement, you start with the risk part of it, which are the risks that are there as I'm going to be doing my assurance audit. You are supposed to assess and look into the scenarios that are risky, so that you should first and critically identify, and then you are going to start working on them. While the assurance and assurance officer may have to implement many different controls to achieve a variety of purposes on the key controls, which are the ones that are truly integral to the achievement of the objective. So you are supposed to look into the main things that are going to make you achieve the objective of you doing the engagement as an audit and assurance officer. Evaluate the adequacy of control design, whereby you look into the first key evaluation in the adequacy of control and design. This step requires the auditor to evaluate whether the controls, if they operate effectively, will mitigate the risks that could prevent the achievement of the objective. We are still working on the how you can look into that. Create a test plan. The test plan outlines how each of the key controls will be tested to help the auditor evaluate how effective those controls are operating. The test also must be linked to the underlying risks, or so that they differentiate or they identify the test. What are we talking about? You have identified the risks. That is, these are the risks. For example, somebody was not depositing the money, and they want you to assure that yes, he has really done something bad. It means you are supposed to identify the key controls that you are going to take. For example, somebody can be an accountant, and yet I was not depositing that money. You can have something that you can really know that this person has really taken the money. So you can ask him, okay, can you give us the receipt? He will give you the receipt book. Okay, you started depositing, receiving money from this place. Can you show me maybe the deposit slip that you did for that particular time? So you have to choose some key things or that he can let you know that you really want to give an assurance to the people that have sent you to do the work. So if you have done that, then you are supposed to develop a work program. How? You are going to engage key tasks that you are going to do in the process, and also judge which ones you are going to start regarding the objective and the scope of your engagement. Allocate resources to the engagement. Also, when you are doing the engagement, you are supposed to know that you are supposed to have, let's say, several officers that you are going to engage. How much allowance are you supposed to have? Not only that, the whole lot of amount that, let's say, the organization is going to suffer on the engagement or on the work that you are going to do when you are going to be doing the real work. But this is just a glance of what you are going to be doing. So you are supposed to allocate what is supposed to be done, mainly in the monetary value. So planning engagement requires more than just carrying out steps above. It also requires effective documentation of the information and the judgment that you have made. So this is very important to us as assurance and the audit and assurance office. So documentation of the information, despite your planning, you're supposed to document some things that are very important to you as an audit and assurance that you are doing the engagement. You have a planning memorandum or a checklist to document the audit approach or audit and assurance approach and the judgment made. The flow chart and the narrative write-up with the description, key process flows. Also the risk map that you are going to depict in your documentation. Also a risk and control matrix documentation that will link between risk control testing and approach. So those are some of the things that we are supposed to have when we are doing the audit and assurance. Develop an observation and formulate recommendation. So you are planning, and then when you have seen that this is what I'm going to do, you are supposed to recommend that. Of course, this is what is there, but I wish I could be doing that. So for you to assure and give them hope or assurance that you are doing the right thing, mainly the shareholders, stakeholders, and everybody, you are supposed to at least do your things in the right way. Communication of assurance engagement. Communication is very important and it's the integral part of an assurance engagement, and occurs throughout both interim and final communication. Because of their process, interim communications tend to happen through face-to-face meetings, conference calls, email messages, and so many ways in which you can communicate with the people that you are going to work with when you are going to be doing the assurance audit in the organization. So the result of the engagement, final communications should be there, and dissemination of the results of an assurance engagement, and should include the scope, the objectives, the purpose of the engagement, time frame, or time which you are going to cover in the audit, and also any other observations that can be required to be documented. The evaluation, also the process that you're going to do in the engagement. Again, your recommendations is very important. How are you going to do it, and how do you do it? If you think your friends didn't do well, and if you think you can give in a very good assurance to other people. So engagement, conclusions, and overall rating should be done, and the management action plan should be there, and you should do the reporting and observation should be there by management and everybody engaged. There are so many slides that I don't want to say everything, but why am I skipping? If you give them that, you're going to read, because it talks about almost just a process and the same things that we are supposed to know. Distribution of final results for the engagement. Distribution of final communication for an engagement does not complete the audit and assurance role. It is still necessary to follow up and monitor to ensure that engagement or management, to ensure that management has implemented an action plan. So you as assurance and audit and assurance officer, you are supposed to do that. You are supposed to do that. Any questions up to here? Good night. Any questions? No, you know, that once you have learned audit and assurance, it's just as interesting work. Because it's the same things that we learn in audit. Because it's just a matter of confirming that what they did is the right thing. That's assurance. And those people that learn audit, come to audit the assurance, they take it as it. Why should we learn it? So, because you have never had that, that's why you are supposed to know that. Today, I'm going to you can in details because hello. Yes. I'll mana? Wasante. Ndio kuujiza. Ni basi ya nyenere. Kodi wapea gani mbea gani? Ndio kuna ufundi fulani ile kunoka mimi. Let me ask, okay. Kujua wakaniwe. Okay, Matthew. Dia dah berjalan aku. Saya nak perempuan. Saya di sini. Saya di kamar. Kalau berjuang berat. Saya tak boleh bermaaf. kila mtu juani. Muka kandike sima baba.
Ayo.